Where? From Brooklyn?
Yes.
Ah, you were How's it take the ferry to 34?
I take the ferry.
Yes, it's our film.
Much better. Yeah, I'm sure. But I don't know about the ferry goes on. No,
It's just an introduction.
Fresh start.
I mean, it's not open. You have the option. But I say it's always. Okay. Yeah, we can start. Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the side event of the 2025 UN High-Level Committee on South-South Cooperation. I am Tetana Waldemaria, head of section at the Norwegian Agency for Exchange Cooperation, and I'm delighted to moderate today's discussions on empowering Global South personal exchange cooperation. And for those of you who are joining us online, welcome to this hybrid event. We're gathered here at the UN Office for South-South Cooperation to explore one of the most transformative yet underutilized mechanisms in international development cooperation. At Norec, we believe in people-powered solutions, personal exchange programs. And since 1963, we've enabled thousands from Norway and across the Global South to swap places, share skills, and grow together. And personal exchange cooperation represents far more than traditional development assistance. These are not top-down initiatives. They are mutual exchanges where participants don't just share expertise, but challenge their own assumptions and return home transformed. And with them, they bring not just new knowledge, but fresh thinking, inclusive practices, and renewed energy to their institutions. And here is where it gets even more exciting. And these programs build exactly the kind of skills that the World Economic Forum says that we need for the future. Critical thinking, adaptability, cultural intelligence, and emotional resilience. So Norec's model built these skills not in theory, but in practice. And the model embodies the true spirit of South-South cooperation, built on peer-to-peer exchange, local knowledge, and co-created solutions. So today, we will examine how these exchanges are reshaping development paradigms and creating lasting impacts across the Global South. So I would like to invite Ms. Dima Al-Khatib, Director of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, for her opening remarks. Ms. Al-Khatib, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to all. A very good morning and afternoon for those who are with us online. A warm welcome to the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation. It is for us a real pleasure, really, to welcome you all in this extremely timely discussion on empowering the Global South through personnel exchange. And it is a pleasure to organize this event with the Permanent Mission of Norway to the UN and the Norwegian Agency for Exchange Cooperation, Norec. I was just saying, it cannot be more timely. And I want to really open a bit of an accolade, as we say. The discussions that we had yesterday at the High-Level Committee on South-South Cooperation, which was attended by more than 70 member states, and deliberations that really underpinned the importance of South-South and triangular cooperation. And what we are going to discuss today is at the heart of one of the modalities that can support triangular cooperation, or is the triangular cooperation modality that we need to further enhance and encourage, especially during these extremely complex times, you know, where the world is grappling not only with the global developmental challenges, but there is a real challenge of, addressing the other aspects of the decrease of ODA and the real need of the countries to make the most out of the different modalities. Very happy to have with us the PR of Malawi. Thank you for joining us in person today. So as I said, discussing today the personnel exchanges is one of the most impactful ways for South-South and Triangle cooperation. And of course, these programs, they transcend traditional development models by placing people at the center of knowledge transfer, of skills building, creating transformative partnerships that we have seen, we would like to see more flourish across the countries of the South. As I said, it is at the very essence of South-South and Triangle cooperation. It really embodies, the principles of solidarity, of mutual benefit, but also the horizontal learning. And this is something that is extremely important because with the personnel exchange, it's not about a one-time, capacity building activity. It's really embedding personnel within, a culture that is an eye-opener, that provides a hands-on experience and skills building. And this is extremely important, for all the countries. And I think, and the colleagues were highlighting this also in my statement, there is a reciprocity, a mutual benefit. Because with such a phenomena, not only it will help the beneficiary personnel, but it will also help the provider to better understand those cultural aspects, those capacity gaps, those skills that needs to be further enhanced and to be further nurtured. I keep saying, in different discussions and forums, it's one thing to be present around the table, but it's another thing to be skilled equally and have, the skills to be able to engage in any discussion and to be able to negotiate in any setup. And this is what the countries of the South needs, the equalizer, right? We talk nowadays about the equalizer. I think personnel exchange is one of those contributors to this equalizing effect that will definitely highly benefit all the countries. Now, as we're saying, this comes as a critical moment. We are not only, through the high-level committee, but also different forums discussing those priority issues for the countries of the South. We are all getting ourselves prepared for the upcoming Financing for Development conference, and I think this is extremely important. Countries are also, looking at many ways to see how they can, be able to fulfill the needs they have. And we're also very privileged that today we have with us, a diverse and a distinguished panel who is coming to talk to us about a whole spectrum on how this is being applied and what are the different angles and perspectives that, advance people's skills building through this modality. I want to mention also a few things as we move forward. As you know, this collaboration with Norec, which we value a lot, was part of an initiative that we have with UNDP, which is called the Global Thinkers, right? And this is an initiative whereby we are also trying to build the capacities of the brain, power in the countries of the South, which are the think tanks, these research entities, to support them in moving forward with collaborative research, with interregional collaboration, but also to amplify their voices. And by linking this, having this initiative within that framework, I think that means a lot, because we would like to also eventually widen or disseminate widely the outcome of the report that we will discuss today. And we are about to embark on a new phase for that initiative, and that's something that we are, very much excited to move forward with. And we also call upon all the countries who would like to be part of this to also, engage with us, and we can have definitely more discussions on this. Of course, this also presents a very successful story that we want to showcase on our digital platform and add it to the best practices that we are also proud of. And we will also want to exchange it with our new the network that we are trying to groom, if you will, as part of the Triangular Cooperation window that we have last year launched in Portugal during the International Conference on Triangular Cooperation. Having said this, what I would like us to keep thinking that this study for us is not something that will be the subject of a one-time event. We want to keep using it as example as we move forward and trying to put forward modalities for how countries can benefit from each other's experience. I want to finish with one concept I've been hearing repeatedly in the different forums. A lot of the countries nowadays are saying, also make good use of our best practices, of our experiences. And there is a new approach that they are trying to put forward, which is a circular cooperation. And that's something that I want us to start thinking about, because there is a lot out there that can be of mutual benefit, as we say, to all of the countries of the globe. Thank you very much, and looking forward to hear the presentation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Al-Khatib. Very inspiring words and about the effects of the transformative power of South-South cooperation. Of course, new innovative ways of looking at it too. And now I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Andreas Løvold, Deputy Permanent Representative of the Permanent Mission of Norway to the United Nations.
Thank you so much, Tatjana, and to Norec for being the brain behind this with both the report, and also very happy and pleased to co-organize this very timely gathering with you, and not the least to you, Dima, and your office and your team, and also for providing the space for us to have a place to meet, at least for us physically here. And welcome and hello to everyone joining digitally. I make my introduction very brief. I have mainly three main points. One is to build a little bit on what you said, Dima, about the context and what we heard yesterday in the opening session, and the right time for the thinking and the methodology and the logic behind South-South and triangular cooperation, and it's something really happening in the world that, as we speak, that obviously is really deeply challenging moment. So I think everyone agreed that we really are at a critical juncture when it comes to a collision of quite many incidents that are happening at the same time, and we have one system to work with to address all of this. I mean, from peace and security and geopolitical tensions increasing drastically. We have a deep development finance crisis. We have significant drops in ODA globally, and so on. And not the least, we have a very significant or historic, very high unsustainable debt levels globally as well, which is really coming at the center of the discussions in the Financing for Development conference, or the preparations now with the outcome document for the fourth conference in Seville later in June, as you mentioned, Dima. So I think all of this, and combined with the fact that the SG has just kicked off his own initiative to try to address some of the efficiency issues, namely reforms, at this stage. But I think as that is happening, I think the key here is that I think everyone, all member states, agencies, stakeholders, etc., agree that we need to find more efficient ways to collaborate and to find both in letter and spirit, I would say, and also to cooperate more equally. And then I'm not only thinking about how to mobilize finances, but also about distribution of power globally as well, also on the financial side. So I think at this stage, I mean, clearly we need new ideas. There's a lot of thinking and also a lot of developments with regard to new actors coming into this arena, and also finding new forms of cooperation. So one of the most promising developments in this context is exactly the rise of South-South and triangular cooperation. We see this globally in all different regions, from Latin America to Africa, from Southeast Asia to the Middle East, etc. So secondly, on our own experience, I can maybe just mention that we over long time has been actively engaging in partnership with Global South, both with experience networks, but also finding ways to catalyze cooperation and financing those in that is both equally and mutually beneficial. I think, speaking on behalf of Norec, I mean, which is working directly with institutions and civil society in the Global South to enabling professional exchanges. And let me just say that these kind of exchanges are not one-off training exercises or sessions or one-off capacity building. They are long-term, with mutual learning and institutional strengthening on all sides. Likewise, for NORAD, the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, plays a vital role in supporting peer-to-peer exchange between public institutions through its knowledge bank. This is not about exporting Norwegian models, but enabling countries to learn from each other and adapt approaches and find solutions to work in their own contexts. So I really believe that this approach breaks down the old binaries of donor on the one hand and recipient on the other, and that it fosters genuine partnership among equals. Finally, just a few takeaways. I think just to say that South-South and triangular cooperation are no longer a peripheral or any niche modality. It is being placed increasingly at the center of the global discourse on development and aid discussions, and I'm thinking not the least on forums like the G20, for instance. And countries themselves are also shaping their own development trajectories and seeking cooperation based on mutual trust, not asymmetry. So let me conclude with three musts. I think first, we must invest in relationship that builds trust, unify, empower, and sustain progress. The second must is that we must shape a development architecture that reflects the world we are becoming and not the one that reflects what we left behind yesterday, and one that is inclusive, innovative, responsive, and capable of delivering at scale. And third and finally, we must continue to invest in building inclusive and impactful partnerships that brings different stakeholders together to leverage their expertise, knowledge, and resources for a sustainable future. I think I leave it there, and I think we all look forward to listening to the great experts in the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I must say, like Norway's continued commitment to reimagining development cooperation in a time where others are rethinking engagements is truly reassuring and extremely positive. So thank you for that. So dear colleagues, in 2024, like has been mentioned, Norec and the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation completed a joint study on that examined personal exchanges in a cooperation model within South-South and triangular cooperation frameworks. And this research has given us very interesting insights on how these exchanges facilitate knowledge transfer, capacity building, and cultural understanding among Global South partners. So now I am pleased to invite Mr. Waqar Ahmed, Joint Executive Director of the Sustainable Development Policy Institute, SDPI, in Pakistan. SDPI is a member of the UN Office South-South Cooperation, South-South Global Thinkers Network, and has been engaged in undertaking the joint study with us on personal exchange as a cooperation model. So Dr. Ahmed, please, I invite you to share the findings from this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope I'm audible and you can see my slides. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes,
Okay,
we can
great.
hear you online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you see my slides?
As well, yes. In the digital world, I can see your slides. I don't know what's happening in the room, but here, yes.
It seems that there is a connection problem with Dr. Ahmed's connection. We'll just give him a few seconds to see if it's back. No? Okay. Perhaps we can come back to this later in the program.
Navida, are you communicating with them via other means?
Yeah. We can see. It's early in the morning, so we'll continue to have our coffee while we wait. We need that. For those of us here, at least.
How are you? How are you? Good. Thank you for joining us. It's an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting study. Very important.
Yeah. It is. We have partners in Malawi. We have several projects.
Yeah.
One of the biggest is with the hospital Black Fire, Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital. So we exchange surgeons and nurses.
We're making a statement this afternoon.
At the South, yes. You know, this afternoon we have our thematic discussion as part of
On SCI.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speakers on.
Are we back on?
People the next speaker.
Should we go on?
Yeah, we'll go.
Can you speak online? Okay. Let's see. We suggest that we move on to the panelists, to the next speakers, and then we'll hopefully Dr. Ahmed will join us and share the findings of the report a little later. So the next thing on the agenda is a panel discussion, and I am delighted to introduce the distinguished panelists, panel of experts, each bringing diversified initiatives and perspectives that exemplify the power of personnel exchange in South-South and triangular cooperation. So first off, let me introduce Mr. Daniel Rodener, Vice President of UNITE, the Swiss Association of the Exchange of Personnel Development Cooperation, and also the Director of Camundo. UNITE is a Swiss association that manages and monitors the quality of personnel exchange and development cooperation and works in partnership with the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. And next we have Ms. Gudrun Chazot, Head of Section Africa at the German Academic Exchange Service, known as DAAD. The German Academic Exchange Service is one of the world's largest funding organizations for international exchange of students and researchers. Also joining us is Mr. Arnold Sunga, Executive Director of the African Judges and Jurors Forum, and also a Norec partner. Arnold has championed judicial independence and human rights across Africa and hosts young legal professionals on exchange from other African countries to foster cross-border legal and collaboration and reform. And we're also joined by Ms. Grite Kulioshete Pirlo, Project Officer at the Erasmus Young Entrepreneurs Support Office, housed within Eurochambers. This is a cross-border exchange program of young entrepreneurs that that receive the opportunity to work with other entrepreneurs, more established entrepreneurs, to learn how to build a small business. And finally, we have Mr. Takahiro Mizukami joining us in the room, Partnership Specialist in Japan Unit, Bureau of External Relations and Advocacy at UNDP. Mr. Mizukami will be sharing with us JICA support to personal exchange cooperation through initiatives such as third country training programs. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for this very important discussion. And I'll be guiding us through the conversation. And I encourage each of the panelists to draw from your specific experiences and initiatives on personal exchange. So can we start with Mr. Rodner? Oh, okay. Shall we present the findings first? Okay, now that we've introduced the panelists, you all know who they are. So let's start with Dr. Ahmed. Good to have you back online. Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Wonderful.
Apologies. Okay. Let me try sharing my slide once again, and I'll stop my video. I'll try sharing my slides.
That's wonderful.
Thanks.
I think it's good to have for us to discuss. To see the findings before we go on to practical examples. So let's see.
Share the slides from here.
Just let me know when you can see my slides.
Yeah.
We can see them now.
Okay, great. So thank you very much, and apologies about the tech glitch. Honored to be here, and thank you to the Office of South-South Cooperation and Norec for supporting this research. It's of course been a long time in coming. We have been helped by a lot of evidence, data, access to beneficiaries of Norec, who are very generous in providing their inputs. Now, the study has specifically focused on, of course, highlighting the importance of the model, but also looking at challenges through the lens of sustainability and, of course, responsible exit of intervention, and whether or not the shared knowledge or the transferred competency sticks once, of course, the cooperation or the formal support, of course, is no more in place. This was a very key question that we have tried to address. We've also seen this as a research piece which can answer aspects beyond capacity building, which is around promoting stronger networks. So in technical skills, for example, one is looking for areas which can help us to cooperate not just on, let's say, one-off activities or trainings, but as, of course, the chair was indicating, embedded support which can stick around in the form of networks that people can lean on. And we believe that the two main pain points that the Norec model has been trying to support, one, of course, is the uneven access to skills, knowledge, and now if we can say tech and more sophisticated tech like AI maybe, for which we may have lessons in the report, but then also the limited international experience opportunities that both sides would have, not just southern, but also northern collaborators who tend to cooperate. The three main research questions that we had at our hand, firstly, of course, to look at how personnel exchanges impact the development cooperation goals, and I'm glad that the panel has already touched on some of the aspects. Second, of course, what is the effectiveness and broader implications beyond the knowledge transfer? And thirdly, the role of exchanges in building deeper understanding of host countries in terms of social, political, economic, and cultural context. And the scope of research essentially started off from a very broad point initially. We started off by analyzing Norec's model of reciprocal personnel exchange, but also focusing on bidirectional knowledge exchange and technical skills, and also evaluating if practice matches the principles of equality and reciprocity. We also wanted to see and assess if the model reflects its principles in practice, and examining how the model promotes equality among all exchange stakeholders. The methodology essentially focused on large amount of desk documents that have been produced across this model implementation in various countries, which we'll just show you in a while, but also trying to map the good practices to identify actors within the existing personnel exchange initiatives. We were able to access the beneficiaries who were interviewed in many of the countries where this Norec support has reached, and then extract the contributions and insights also from the e-discussion, which was led from the platform of South-South Global Thinkers platform, which the UN Office of South-South Cooperation hosts. We were very fortunate to have in-depth interviews with 35 very key people. Some of them were beneficiaries, but some of them, at least a dozen of them, were heads of institutions who were involved in this exchange process. And their insights have really been fundamental in zeroing in on the conclusions and recommendations. This was the sort of breakup of the key informant interviews which were conducted. We had government officials, faculty members who had been part of this program, Norec beneficiaries, as well as some of the think tanks who acted as knowledge intermediaries here. Now, just taking a macro view of the interviews, the participants have been very candid in sharing their experiences and assess the interventions, given that most of the interventions are not new. They have been several years down the experience lane, and they've highlighted both the benefits and the challenges. They've addressed dynamics, including the GESI or gender dynamics within this exchange model, aspects that were critical to, for example, marginalized communities in the southern world, including, let's say, persons with disabilities. And then, of course, provided very candid recommendations to improve the impact. I won't be doing justice with a large part of the recommendations which they have provided, and I'd encourage colleagues to see the full report for their conclusions and recommendations. One of the key findings that I want to start with really pinpoints the relevance of this exchange model in the development cooperation agendas. And this exchange process, we felt that contributes to the cooperation in many ways, but the key of the most major out of them is the several layers of knowledge facilitation. It's not just a training process. It's a process that includes immersion. It's a process that includes embedding, a process which is two-way knowledge gains, which also leads us into our next point, which is around deepened effectiveness of exchanges, including not just at an individual level, but at an institutional exchange level. And as some examples will show, that it's also at a societal level that this effectiveness is taking place. Now, you don't see this in the traditional capacity building models that one would have. We also note that many of the SDG-related capacity building initiatives therein again, when one talks about sustainability in exit, the role of personnel exchanges could be crucial and would stick around well beyond the intervention period. Now, I want to specifically come to 3 or 4 examples where Norec has intervened in our report. The first example that we cite is between the 2 hospitals, one in Malawi and the other one in Norway, wherein very deeper levels of exchange between paramedics, midwives, medical engineers, lab technicians, radiologists has taken place over the course of years, and both have been able to interact with each others. And there's been hands-on experience on both sides. And we have cited this as the first and the foremost example, given that even after the intervention, the staff continues to interact with each other. We call this the troubleshooting, the availability of troubleshooting service, which remains in place. Plus, when in southern countries there is turnover of staff, even the new people, the new personnel know where to access information from. So this was the first case study in the report that we have touched on. The second case study is from Kenya, where 2 municipal level institutions have tried to interact with each other. And there is not only interaction between local level spatial planners, but of course other personnel who come under the local government department, wherein they have showcased collaboration on equal footing. And there's longer term partnership between both municipalities in the 2 countries. This is a pure example in institutional and governance reform, where one can find deeper insights, and how personnel exchange is trying to embed governance reform and institutional reform capacity in Kenya. The third example comes from Nepal and India, wherein personal exchange has been sort of implemented in a totally different sector, which is agriculture, and hands-on building of skills in organic farming has taken place, targeting returning migrants to create rural livelihood opportunities. There was a huge youth engagement aspect as well, given that both countries have a young population. There's a demographic dividend, which Norec model has tried to incorporate here. And a large part of interest also comes from youth in these countries, both Nepal and India, trying to test their skills in agri-tech, where their partners from Norway have been able to help. We also note from Nepal and Bangladesh and Myanmar that there have been leprosy mission who have been helped through Norway's support in terms of strengthening research capacity and community engagement. Telemedicine aspect is also found here. Online remote services for better healthcare have also been provided. But a key aspect which is different from other, for example, remote services that we see in healthcare is the promotion of social integration, which led to increased trade in health services between Norway, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. So given that trade in services is a byproduct of this particular experience, we wanted to highlight this, that it's not just the improvement of treatment of people with leprosy and other disabilities, it goes well beyond that into trade in healthcare services, promoting value chain in healthcare services between these countries. Also for Bangladesh, we note that in nutrition sector, there have been focused sharing of expertise in nutrition enhancing activities. Many of those tried and tested experiences from Norway, which found their place in Cambodia, and then India, were then also provided to the foundation in Bangladesh and its partner organizations, which aim to improve the nutrition status in rural Bangladesh and semi-urban areas. Apart from Norec, we also cite two other examples in our report. One comes from a network, a young network called Southern Voice, the community in New York and Geneva is no stranger to Southern Voice Network. There are a network of more than 66 think tanks now trying to promote some variant of the Norec model. Most of their intervention is backed through Southern-led research. Of course, there is an element of Northern thought leadership that informs the Southern-led research. The other example that we cite is the TTI model, the think tank initiative model of the government of Canada, which IDRC had pioneered. The phase 1 started in 2010, and the phase 2 was post 2015. It ended just before COVID, and there was a huge element of North-South, South-South, and triangular cooperation, developed partnership across several think tanks, but one of the partnerships that we cite is between the Center for Policy Dialogue in Bangladesh, ITS UK, as well as the Brazilian Center for International Relations around climate change. And it launched platforms, including the very well-known research repository and policy knowledge hub platform, which has created virtual collaborations even after the exit of IDRC. Many of the planning departments or the planning commissions in the southern countries are now part of this initiative. Let me turn quickly to the conclusions and recommendations. And as I said, that the report tries to, of course, group its conclusions and recommendations into not just skill development, which of course could easily be termed as a traditional capacity development, but also a very deeper level of professional growth, cultural exchange, as well as societal and community impact. So all four aspects, we have grouped our recommendations under these four aspects. Of course, due to the paucity of time, we may not be able to go deeper into these four elements. But one of the points that we do touch upon is that, as I think the chair was also pointing, we are living in uncertain times and there are ODA aid cuts as well. We do encourage the governments in the southern world to come together and think about it independently as well, that how can they create spaces in their budgets to take forward some of the good aspects of what the Office of South-South Cooperation and Norec have been advocating. There are budget spaces in the Higher Education Commission or University Grants Commission institutions, as we call them. We also note that Norec model can be seen as facilitating partnerships going beyond what they have currently pioneered. So a jointly defined agenda which involve selected visiting experts could work, even in an environment where you have reduced funding space going forward. There is a case for involving corporate social responsibility. So many of the corporate-led capacity building institutions, such as, for example, in India, we cite the example of TIS, Tata Institute of Social Studies. They could be encouraged. And in those countries where there's mandatory legal CSR, corporate social responsibility, that funding window could also be attracted in sustaining a lot of good work that has gone into supporting Norec beneficiaries. And finally, I think some of the aspects that came through the e-platform of South-South Galaxy, it largely focused on digital solutions, where we had seen many of the think tanks pointing towards facilitating exchange for good practices on their own, strengthening collaboration for partnerships, and continuing the existing knowledge management functions on their own. So given that Norec, Office of South-South Cooperation, IDRC, Southern Voice, many of them have institutional partners. They have knowledge brokers in the form of Southern think tanks. Their expertise need to be now latched onto so that many of these interventions are documented, they are not lost in communication, or once, of course, there are cuts in funding, and we utilize the digital solutions to put this knowledge out there once, of course, other countries want to replicate this. So I'll just stop over here and look forward to the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you for your presentation and for the very excellent examples that we are proud to support in Norec. And I'm very much looking forward to hear how others are doing it. We are not, Norec are not the only ones supporting South-South personal exchanges. This is what our panelists will be sharing some examples of their work with us about. Can I invite Mr. Daniel Rodener from Unite and Kamundo to share the way that you work with personal exchanges. You are a strong advocate for long-term, people-centered exchange programs. And I invite you to share how you work and what kind of, how these kinds of exchanges help bring the principles of South-South cooperation to life and real-life practices.
Good. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I assume that you're hearing me well.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for sharing the insights, for setting the scene. I've read the study with very carefully, and first of all, I have to appreciate that I've been in a room with people where I don't have to explain what personal exchange is and what kind of cooperative model lies behind it and what the values are. So I very much appreciate all the insights that you draw from the study, the lessons learned. From my perspective, that relates very much to what we experience, what we have been studying also during the past decades. I'd like to focus on basically on two elements right now. I've decided that during my listening because I could explain our model, which has a lot of similarities, but some elements are different. But what I thought or came up now also listening to this input was that especially when you talk about knowledge sharing, I think that it's not just a question of terminology, that we often talk about capacities and capacity sharing. So in our experience, when we start off, it might be an assignment north-south or a south-south engagement. We usually start off with some technical issues. You mentioned agriculture, that's where we also work in. We work in different kinds of education, from early childhood development up to the TVET sector. We work in health elements. And what we usually find out after a few years, and now repeatedly, that even though they start off with a technical issue, it often ends up with an organizational development part. So it's also when we talk about soft skills, that is what usually remains once this cooperation comes to an end. So that people from the different countries, what they appreciate most, not only, but most, is the human exchange, the exchange in what we call soft skills. So it's not only, we do concentrate, let's say, on our organic farming, but that's just a method on how you farm. It goes much further in how do you interact with farmers, how do farmers interact, how do you bring a produce to the market, which might sound technical, but there's a lot of things about how you go about a certain change. And that's where people from different environments can exchange and learn from each other. And for us, that's a difference whether I work with a short-term consultant who operates on a basis of offering trainings for 10 days or 2 weeks, and then leaves that might come back once or twice a year, of somebody staying during 2 or 3 years and sharing experiences. So it's a question about time. And I just repeat, we start off with a technical issue and end up with many more issues. And what not has been something I'd like to add, it has been mentioned in the report, but not in the sense that we understand it, because we often ask ourselves the question, what's our role in the South-South exchange? Why are we as Comundo or as Unite even active? And there's many reasons to it, but one main reason I would like to highlight is that the learning that we profit from, even as a Swiss organization. One of our mandates is to raise awareness, responsibility, solidarity within our community, within the Swiss community. And we often hear a singular voice from the South. There are a lot of assumptions on what's working and what's not working in the South. So with these exchanges, this allows us to bring know-how, knowledge, information, stories back to our audience here in Switzerland, as this is also an area of influence that we are looking at. This as an initial part, and I'm happy to participate in other questions later.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mr. Rodener. And I completely agree with you. We also, we see the value of supporting South-South exchanges because we at Norec are a competency center for international cooperation, and the learning that we receive or the learning that we gain from facilitating for knowledge transfer between various types of organizations, partners, countries. This is something that we bring back with us to other Norwegian institutions and partners that want to learn more about how to build strong international partnerships. So the value is also reciprocal in that sense. It's not just funding projects, but we also gain learning from that. So that is absolutely something that we can recognize in what you're saying. Can I ask, have you met any unexpected challenges, or what do you find with as a challenge in supporting personnel exchange and using that as an opportunity to perhaps scale up on the projects?
We constantly meet challenges. That's whether they are unexpected or not so unexpected. There's different reasons. So one element that we often talk about is time and the intercultural understanding. I mean, whether it might be people from the north or from south to another south countries, we often part our journey with thinking that we don't have our own models. We will not imply our own thinking on other ones. However, we are so much all our culture background on how we study, on how we interact, on how we greet people, on how we enter a meeting. This has been formed over decades, so it's very difficult for many people that we meet, including of course myself, to go into a different culture and first to learn on how is another culture working. And it's been also mentioned by the opening remarks that everything is a lot of learning is based on trust. So building a trustful relationship is from our own learning, it starts at different points in different cultures. When I look at my colleague, I think to the right, from the German side and the Swiss side, I think we somehow know how to greet each other and start to work. But it's quite different when we work with even different regions within Kenya or different regions within Bolivia. You have to have this kind of knowledge to build up, and what we often don't have is patience and time just to understand first, where does the other person come from? Where does the other organizational stand? It has been mentioned in the report that organizations have different development paths, and we must understand where they are, but this needs time. So one of the constraints we often have is time, especially people with limited time. They want to achieve change within weeks or days, and that's often not the case. So what we plan with enough time ahead, we accompany people for getting engaged and taking the time necessary to agree on certain milestones that they can build up over time. And I'm getting repetitive because you said it at the very beginning. It's just trust related, and we didn't find a recipe so far for building trust, but there are some key ingredients, and that's being attentive, listening, and just respectful behavior. And what we try to focus on, that it's never a one-way knowledge sharing or learning. It's always circular. And so everybody can take something with them. If a process goes on for 6 months or even 10 years, we have different experiences also about the time need.
Thank you so much. That's absolutely a challenge that we can identify with and that we work with. The long-term exchanges, it takes time to unlearn the assumptions that you go with entering a new culture, and learning how things work and building trust. And that is exactly why we are dedicated to supporting long-term exchanges, because we realize how long it takes for somebody to feel like they are contributing after having built the trust with their colleagues around them. Thank you. I would like to invite Ms. Gudrun Shazot from DAAD. She's the head of the section for Africa at the German Exchange Institute for Researchers and Students. Ms. Shazot, DAAD has long been a leader in fostering academic and professional exchanges, and especially through its scholarship program in Africa. And these initiatives have created incredible opportunities for young scholars and professionals to learn, to grow, to collaborate across borders. Could you tell us a bit more about DAAD's work, and particularly in Africa? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy being here. Thank you for inviting DAAD to this panel. It was quite interesting knowing as well about the study, and I read it beforehand as well. And yeah, I just wanted to dive now, like my colleague he did, into the depths of what we do and our lessons learned, let's say. So you just introduced me mentioning the scholarships. Yes, DAAD is giving scholarships and a big range of it. In 2023, for example, we have had, let's wait a minute, how many students we funded? No, let's give another figure. Individuals from abroad from 1950 to 2023, it was more than 1 million people that moved with DAAD funding to Germany, for example. So it's really a big number what we are doing with individual funding, and we have since really a long period as well South scholarships that we give. So I think this is what you are referring to our in-country and in-region scholarships. For example, last year more than 1,000 people got funding for doing a master's or a PhD in a country in the global south. So people, for example, coming from Tanzania, going to South Africa or to Kenya or wherever for doing the study programs. So this is one line what we have, but we have as well our what we call project funding, and this is that we give money to German universities for cooperating with universities abroad, and this is another important element, let's say, of South funding, or triangular funding better, that we have, and that is really successful. So I would go a bit in the direction, having this opportunity that DED is so big that we have both possibilities, let's say, we can combine individual funding strategically with project funding lines as well. So we have instruments, and we have I just have 5 different project lines combining the elements. I will just cite one. We have the Centers of African Excellence, for example, where we have a German university working together with several African universities, and they have mobility for master studies, for research, for doing a PhD, for conferences, curriculum development, etc. And we have this model, let's say, and here I'm coming to what Mr. Ruduna, he told us as well. Yes, we need the aspect in Germany as well of internationalization of our German higher education system. So it's all about learning all together, of this secular learning. I like this word, this nomination of this process, so that we get people together from different continents, working together, learning from each other, and just looking at it on a long period of time. I would say that the most sustainable impact we get with long-lasting projects where people have had the time for 10 or 15 years. We have some projects that are running for 15 years. People learned to know each other. They build up something together they all rely on and they are all proud of. And everyone is engaged for putting this forward. So this would be my lesson learned, let's say, from DAD work. If you have the means for doing so, it's really an asset if you can combine individual funding with project funding, putting the efforts together for having more impact. I would mention some other elements as well. What we do in several programs as well is that we invite people from different countries in the Global South, from all continents, coming to Germany for training. And so people there coming to the north, let's say, but they have a mixed group in Germany. And these programs are really astonishing. If you have the chance of meeting with such a group, it's so rich. And they are all learning from each other and in the German environment, let's say. So we have a strong linkage. It's more than triangular, let's say. It's so multi-facets and international. This is really of highest value. We have the EPOS program, we have DS training courses. I saw that in the study, DAD is mentioned with the binational thesis. This is more bilateral. So I would really encourage thinking on a wider range. And I would like to mention our lessons learned, if I have still the time, more in a really practical way. What is really, for cooperation itself, what would be something we should think about is cooperation needs time. Short-time projects are less successful. The in-person exchange is really key for building trust, and trust is needed. We have had this already. Intercultural differences, they can't be overesteemed in my opinion. I've seen so many corporations being less successful because they didn't communicate in the right way and they didn't understand each other, even being committed for it. But it's not easy. It's really not easy. And those who are just telling, yeah, everything is fine, etc. Cooperating internationally is not easy in my personal opinion. An identification of common goals is important if you really want to have this sustainable. And getting another aspect to this as well, joint financing. Even if it's not the same part of everyone, but having the engagement of all partners that they are willing to share and to give something, in my experience, is really a key point as well for getting corporations successful. And if I may go ahead with the challenges, I would just add some challenges that are from the German perspective, let's say, and now perhaps you will laugh about it. Strict legal regulations for funding, for example, can be a hinderer or a big challenge for joint cooperation, because we are quite special. Well, let's see, even the European regulations are not easy always for cooperating, for giving international funds. Different administrative and academic regulations as well. If you're working together and you have different academic calendars, it's not easy. If you're talking about joint master programs, etc., time zone differences can be a challenge as well. And last but not least, poor infrastructure. I think this is something when we are talking about digital corporations and how to use best the digital tools we can have. We need to acknowledge as well that sometimes it can be difficult if you have too many power cuts, etc. So this is just a short overview, and I'm happy to respond to questions if there are any.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Shazot, for covering both your support to the academic cooperation projects and also and the challenges that you meet. It's very, like I said, very recognizable, all the challenges that you find, and I think most of us here meet very similar challenges. I will come back to you if we have time for questions later on. I suggest we move on to Mr. Arnold Sunga. This is a partner from, is he online? No? Okay, then we will move on and see if he is back connected online.
I'm sorry, I may jump in. I see he's among attendees and he's raising his hand.
Okay. Okay, Arnold, glad to have you with us. This is a Norec partner from the African Judges and Jurists Forum.
Is it from me or there's someone else now?
Yes, yes, Arnold, welcome. Welcome to the panel. Can you hear me?
Tena, is it still Arnold or there's someone else?
No, can you hear me? Perhaps you have an issue with the noise, with the sound from us? You cannot hear us? Okay, there is no sound. Okay, I suggest we come back to you, Arnold. If you can write a message, Namita, to him. Let's move on to Ms. Grite Kalusha-Tempirlo. She's representing the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program. So it's a program for young and aspiring entrepreneurs to learn by doing, by immersing themselves in established businesses in a different country.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Can you hear us, Grite?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Can you tell us more about your exchange programs and the cross-border exchanges of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs that have the opportunity to work at more established businesses to learn by doing and taking with them valuable knowledge back home to their organizations?
Yes, of course. Hello and good morning and good afternoon for our colleagues in Europe. Happy to join this discussion. It is a little bit new for us, I think, because we're not focused on South-South cooperation. We're working exclusively in single market program countries in Europe. I guess European colleagues might be a bit more familiar with the term. So it's EU member states and also some other countries who have joined the single market program. So this is like the ultimate goal of Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program is to strengthen the single market and the presence of SMEs and micro enterprises across single market. So maybe to introduce you this as a good practice, Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program has been running for 16 years already, and it is focused on individual exchanges. So where new or aspiring entrepreneur, doesn't matter the age, who would be able to go abroad to another enterprise to learn how to run a company, basically, and obtain some essential skills. So I maybe share my screen just very shortly to give you a bit more insights in the program. Please let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. So, yeah, as I have mentioned, Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program is focused on starting businesses and already established businesses. So we qualify an established business, someone who has been running a business for more than 3 years. And the program gives a possibility for entrepreneurs to go on exchange between 1 and 6 months. And the stay is partially financed by the European Commission. And I think this links a bit with what colleague Madame Chazot was saying before, that it combines a little bit individual funding and project funding. So a participant would need to bring usually a part of their own funds, which makes it a bit more motivating for them to take the maximum out of the program as well. Yeah, so the idea, as I have mentioned, is to really encourage the expansion in the single market. So the entrepreneurs who are participating, they are not in any way forced to start a business after the exchange program, but the intention before the exchange should be that they would be willing to start a business in one of the single market program countries. Regarding the participation requirements, yeah, we have currently all the EU member states and some other participating countries, so single market program countries. And what is, I think, great about the program and talking about integration, so the participation is not based on nationality, but rather on the residence. So if you're an established resident in one of the participating countries, you may come from another country. Basically, the minimum requirement is that you would have resided for the past 6 months officially in one of the program countries. You can participate and you can be developing your business in any sector. And as I've mentioned before, there is no age limit, just the limit of entrepreneurial experience. So for example, if you have been running a business before and you were not maybe your enterprise closed, which was the case, as we know, for a lot of enterprises during the COVID-19 pandemic. So you would be considered already maybe with some business running experience. So in that case, you would not be able to benefit from the program. But if you have never had your own enterprise or you have just started one, everyone is welcome to join. I don't think so that I will go through the requirements, but basically, as I have mentioned, we separate people until 3 years of experience, where you would be a new entrepreneur, and after 3 years of experience running a company, where you can apply as a host entrepreneur. And the program is facilitated by the intermediary organizations and support office. So intermediary organizations are taking care of the implementation of the program on country level. So if you are a resident in one of the countries, let's say Germany, you would be able to contact any contact point in Germany, and they will help you to apply, find a counterpart, and build the so-called commitment, because the program involves as well a more detailed plan of the exchange, depending on the duration of the exchange, and that's something that both parties are involved in, and they create a detailed plan of what they are going to develop, what they are going to work on, and both host entrepreneur and new entrepreneur have their own goals, so each one of them for their business. So there is really a mutual interaction happening. So the core benefits, I guess, of the program, maybe some of them already address some issues or challenges which were already mentioned. But so basically, for potential entrepreneurs, and I think that's one of the most attractive thing is like to get like a bit on the job training and international experience. So like majority of people we're getting, they are still fresh out of the studies, usually out of business studies, and who are envisioning to launch their own company. So this is something which is really attractive for them. And getting the financial support and helps to let's say settle this first step. And for the host entrepreneurs, a lot of them have especially more innovative enterprises who have started, for example, since 5 years. It is not such an old business per se, right? So they still benefit from the fresh graduates, for example, who can help them to develop a stronger presence in one of their departments, like focusing on marketing or on sales. Recently, we had every year we release the most successful stories of the exchanges. So we have, for example, an entrepreneur in Malta who has launched his car sharing app, and he said that for me it was an experience as I was going, but his company is I think around 5 years old now, and he has matched with an entrepreneur, a future entrepreneur who has been working for a very long time in one of very big corporations. And he said that what was really beneficial for me, that I could actually establish a structure in my company. So yeah, the benefits are really mutual, and a lot of them continue collaboration even later on. So shortly, to give you an overview of how the program works. So everything is facilitated online, and you can fill in the application. Then you get in touch with your local contact point who's assessing your application, and then you get an access to an online database where you can look for businesses in your sectors in different countries.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Grete.
Thanks.
Just of time, but even though this is, of course, a program that is centered in Europe, it is definitely South-South cooperation, and highlights the benefits that lie in peer-to-peer learning. Entrepreneurs that have the opportunity to learn from those that have more experience and established businesses that they take home with them. So thank you so much for sharing those aspiring program that could potentially scale up to the global South as well, and inspiration for other donors to learn from. Thank you. Let's see if Mr. Sunga can hear us now. Can you hear us, Arnold?
Yes, I can. I hope you can hear me too.
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome, Arnold. You are representing the African Judges and Jurists Forum. and you are one of the Norec partners that receive young legal professionals from other African countries to come and work in your organization and send your staff as well to other partners. Can you tell us a bit more how those exchanges work, and also how the knowledge that you get from the young professionals that are coming to your organizations, how that is impacting learning for you and your organization?
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, we are running a Norec exchange project for young lawyers between 18 and 35 years. And we call it transforming the justice sector in East and Southern Africa through exchange of legal technical experts. And we have 4 consortium partners. And as you rightfully say, the Africa Judges and Jurists Forum is the coordinating organization. And we then have the International Commission of Jurists Kenya section. We have the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative from Uganda. And then we also have the Legal Resources Foundation from Zimbabwe. And these are generally Africa's or some of Africa's prime law-based organizations. And the Africa Judges Forum as a coordinating entity is composed of 110 eminent judges and jurists from across the African continent. And the content of the program itself has to do with the justice sector programming, which seeks to foster positive transformation of our societies through systematic and organized experiential learning and skills transfer to engender shared values in judicial practice, equitable access to justice, and the rule of law and development in Africa. And those are very fundamental requirements, because the Africa Policy Framework from the African Union Constitutive Act, the question of the need for Africa to transform itself on the basis of good governance, adherence to the rule of law, is very important. So there's a very strong strategic fit between the objectives of the Norec project itself and what we aspire to achieve as an organization. Then the participants, I hope you can still hear me. Something happened, someone trying to call. Yeah, the participants in this program, they are, so far we've had 16 young legal professionals, 12 women and 4 men, all aged between 25 and 35 years, moving from different countries in East and Southern Africa, essentially going to 4 countries, which is South Africa, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and Kenya. And I've already talked about the relevance of the project in terms of the overall Africa Union agenda, as well as the Africa sub-regional economic communities, the SADC and the East Africa community, because all of them talk about the importance of anchoring Africa's governance architecture in the rule of law and respect for human rights. But there's also a requirement for integration. One of the things which we were not aware of or sure as an intentional idea with this project is really how the Norec exchange program is such a strategic fit with the idea of integrating Africa around shared values. So now for the first time, we do have young legal professionals being able to move from one country to another and experientially learning on what it means to have the practices of law advance the human rights and the rule of law agenda. One of the things that, in terms of impact, which I've also seen is the, unleashing, if I can put it that way, to unleash the leadership potential, because the selection process which we go through to identify the young lawyers who then get moved to host organizations in different jurisdictions is that, their appetite for human rights and the rule of law and good governance is to be demonstrable. And then at the same time, many of them have actually immediately shown the capacity for transnational leadership, because they normally are in one country, but the moment they go to the other country and they begin to have exchanges, you actually see almost an overnight transformation of these young people to become, rule of law leaders on the continent. And with many of, rule of law challenges, human rights abuses that are emerging, enforced disappearances, abductions in the region, you actually see these youngsters beginning to create networks that are organic and generally respond to the challenges that the region is facing, including, creating what they call the legal rapid response group that helps lawyers in countries facing distress with a technical drafting of documentation that allows for people who may have been temporarily enforced disappeared to actually appear in the courts, and to put extreme pressure on repressive practices. But the question of leadership, I can't stop talking about it without referring to two examples. The current mayor of Harare, his name is Jacob Mafume, was a Norec fellow in Uganda. And when he was in Uganda, he is the first, I think, foreign young legal professional who went to address parliament when the Ugandan parliament was trying to alter the constitution to allow for extended presidential terms. When we were looking at that project, we thought, hey, he's very courageous. But the fact that now he's back home in Zimbabwe and is leading the largest city, which has got 4 million people, that really shows the leadership that was unleashed, or at least that started to emerge as a result of the confidence he acquired working across different countries. I can also refer to a person called Simeon Mwanza, who was a Norec participant in Uganda, but originally from Zambia. He is the immediate past Solicitor General for Zambia. And it was such a huge post. For us, it was a huge pleasure to see him emerging from just being a Norec fellow, returning to his country for a few years, and then emerging to be appointed by President Sata as the Solicitor General of Zambia. I think that in itself shows you the magnitude of the program, and the fact that when they got those positions, they remained very accessible to us. And if there was a problem about human rights, which Africa judges needed to deal with, it was easy for us to call, hey, Solicitor General, we understand there's this problem. Are you able to look into it? He would investigate, give us a briefing. And I really think that integrated leadership around shared values and the rule of law is something that we're beginning to see unleashed by the Norec project. And then in ending, the current crop that we have, one of the things that I just see so transforming them and in terms of leadership potential and just the hope of integrating Africa on the rule of law and the governance agenda. The Africa Judges and Jurists Forum, we do have what we call the Judicial Elders Council. So I can just give you one example of 2 or 3 people in there. These are retired Chief Justices who have retired with impeccable leadership and a very strong footprint in terms of defending the rule of law. We have Chief Justice Maraga, who is the one that presided over the Kenya election petition case and was courageous enough under very difficult circumstances to overturn an election and reorder a re-election process. This is the first time that it happened in Africa and in Kenya. We also have Chief Justice Nyirenda from Malawi, who also emulated Chief Justice Maraga and overturned an election petition in Malawi. And then we have, Chief Justice William Mutunga. So these people, when they meet with these young legal professionals, they get such inspiration that, I think without the Norec project, it would have been very difficult to give examples to these youngsters about the need for them to keep the heritage of Africa around the rule of law and, creating conditions for development based on the rule of law. Thank you, Dayton.
Thank you so much. It's quite inspiring to hear that. One is that this is the pathway that young leaders are created through, and also the networks that are being built across the continent because of these opportunities to collaborate and share knowledge with each other. Thank you so much, Arnold, for sharing
Thank
your
you.
project, and yeah, that's very inspiring. And we also have Mr. Muzukami from JICA. And I invite you to share with us, to tell us a bit more about JICA's approach to personal exchange programs and how you view this program as a contribution to mutual learning and capacity building among Global South countries. Thank you.
Thank you for introduction. Again, good morning, everyone. I am Takahiro Mizukami. I'm partnership specialist of the Japan unit of the Bureau of External Relationship and Advocacy of UNDP headquarters. And I'm seconded from JICA headquarters. So today, on behalf of JICA, I would like to introduce the history and some kind of the essential points of our South-South cooperation through our 50 years history of Japan's international cooperation. I guess that's so you don't have enough time for this event, so I would like to try to make my speech compact. Yeah. So personal exchange program is one of the powerful embodiment of South-South cooperation principles of equality, mutual respect, and co-creation, which JICA has been implementing over 50 years. Our first examples of South-South cooperation is starting from the cooperation of sericulture training to launched in Thailand in 1970s. So Japanese experts trained Thai personnel who later transferred their knowledge to Laos and Cambodia. This became one of the first models of triangular cooperation in Asia and reflected Japan's philosophy of supporting self-reliance. Yeah. Through these exchanges, Japan and JICA have contributed to transforming South-South cooperation from a directional aid model to a collaborative and reciprocal process, thereby strengthening its foundational principles. Yeah. So as countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, some kind of the middle-income Southeast Asian countries. So these countries like this field are some kind of the main target of our proceeding South-South cooperation historically. But not only in South Asia, but also in other regional countries included our target of cooperation. For example, we proceeded technical cooperation through the land readjustment in Colombia. So former trainee from Colombia who had previously studied Japanese specialized knowledge and successfully utilized them in his home country, and he launched the Latin American Association of Urban and Territorial Planners for expanding this knowledge to other Latin American countries after his coming back to Colombia. So now he is a so famous academia professor, and so he tried to expand these knowledges for redevelopment of urban areas in the Latin American countries in his mother region. Yes, and in addition to this experience, when I was a representative of JICA Thailand office, so I supported the establishment of the Customs Academy by Ministry of Finance in Thailand. So the goals of the government of Thailand was not only establishing the training institute for Thai officers but also for surrounding countries like Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and other South Asian countries, including India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, like that. So their target is not only promoting their own economies, and also they are utilizing the trained knowledges by the specialists from the Japanese custom officers, and so they expanded this knowledge and know-how for promoting the regional economic and developments. So from those examples, we think like that. To scale successful exchange programs, leveraging the centers of excellence is crucial. JICA supports long-standing partner institutions to become regional hubs. So like the Customs Academy in Thailand or the Academic Association in Colombia, like that. So, Thai Customs Academy, for instance, has become active providers of South-South training in each field, respectively. Yeah. So personal exchanges should not function in isolation. They need to be integrated into broader policy and institutional dialogues. So JICA collaborates with SCAP, UNSCAP, to collect and analyze the South-South cooperation cases and organize regional policy discussions in Asia-Pacific areas. So these forums are all for alignment between personal exchange efforts and strategic regional goals. So this is my last paragraph of speaking. Yeah, by linking exchanges with policy development and the system building, we can coordinate development plans, so technical cooperations, and institutional reforms holistically. So anchoring personal exchanges within this border ecosystem enhances coherence and synergy across South-South cooperation initiatives. Yeah. So I remember that Dr. Ahmed kindly introduced that as the one important part of Norec model. Yeah, so cultural exchange and community impact. So we should target them as an important, precious essence. So so we of course would like to consider and respect what the Nordic government considering, and so exchange the good examples and so what we found by each other. Yeah. So and I think that we have the similar viewpoints about what is important for proceeding, promoting the South-South cooperation. So we would like to continue such sessions for exchanging the essence of our dream and goals. Yeah. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to hear examples that are not only building, knowledge and skills for professionals, but also something that actually translated to influencing policy at that level. So thank you so much for your examples, and it's great to see that we are a network of organizations that are supporting similar but very different types of projects, but within the spirit of South-South cooperation, and we definitely have a lot to share and to learn from each other. Unfortunately, due to the time constraints, we do not have any opportunity for questions and answers at this time, but I'm very happy to have connected with all of you so that we can continue this conversation going forward. And now I invite Mr. Zanofer Ismailberg to give us our closing remarks. He's the chief of the Knowledge Hub here at the UN Office for South-South Cooperation. And I welcome you to close this session for us.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, panelists, colleagues, and participants. As we conclude today's insightful discussion, I would like to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to our co-organizers, the Permanent Mission of Norway. And thank you, Ambassador Andreas, for staying with us throughout the event, and also to Norec for making this event possible. Special thanks also due to the lead author of the study, Dr. Waka, and also to our moderator who skillfully guided the conversation, and of course to all our panelists for sharing their invaluable experiences and perspectives on personal exchanges. And I also want to thank my colleague Navida for leading this piece of work for some time and helping us to complete this event. Colleagues, today's dialogue underscored the transformative power of personal exchanges in fostering South-South, East-East, sometimes referred to East-East cooperation in the European CIS region, and triangular cooperation. We have heard compelling examples of how these programs break traditional paradigms by prioritizing mutual learning and reciprocity over one-way assistance. Secondly, building lasting networks that extend beyond individual exchanges, creating ecosystems of shared knowledge and innovation. And thirdly, address future challenges by equipping professionals with skills needed for rapidly evolving global landscape. The joint study that highlighted in today's event provides a roadmap for scaling these initiatives. But as we move forward, let us remember that success depends on several factors, but let me highlight three. The first of all is commitment to partnership. I think that also came out very strongly in discussions. Strengthening collaboration among government, institutions, and the private sector to expand opportunities. Innovation in design, leveraging digital tools, flexible funding models, and for example, South-South Galaxy platform to overcome resource constraints. Third, integration with broader agendas. And we also heard it during this morning opening remarks from two of our speakers. This also involves aligning personal exchanges with national development strategies and the SDGs to maximize impact. We in UN OSSC remain committed to advancing this agenda through, for example, the new phase of the Global Thinkers initiatives that our director referred to, and also through our triangular cooperation funding window, which will support pilot programs and scale proven models. We invite all partners to join us in this effort, whether by sharing best practices, exploring new collaborations, or advocating for policy frameworks that enable these exchanges to thrive. In closing, I'm mindful of the time, I just want to emphasize that let today's discussion be a catalyst for action. The Global South's greatest resource is people, and by investing in their connections, we invest in a more equitable and sustainable future. Thank you everyone for being here, and in person and online for the engagement.
So thank you so much. Big thank you to our co-organizers, the Permanent Mission of Norway to the United Nations and the UN Office for South-South Cooperation for making today possible. And thank you to all our speakers and our panelists for sharing your stories and expertise. And a big thank you to everyone in the room and online for taking the time to hear these wonderful stories. Thank you, and I wish you a good day. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.